OtterlyNoahs could be dipping his toes into Outrage content. And I say could be because I saw this video pop up and I bookmarked it. Let me show you the thumbnail for this video. Completely and utterly lifeless. And I thought, is OtterlyNoahs trying to court Outrage content? Is that what he's doing here? So here's the video. It's titled, "The Mandalorian and Grogu is not the return to Star Wars anyone wanted." Now, to be fair, only in this instant, because I know that some people confuse my content with Outrage content. This could be him playing the game, right? This could be a sort of a tongue-in-cheek video. Let's see if he's going to actually be in good faith here or not. Let's see.
To the big screen after 7 years. And after such a long time with no Star Wars on the big screen, what better way to bring it back than to have the duo who essentially kept Star Wars alive for a limited amount of time on Disney Plus during the pandemic come to the big screen for the first...
Wait, what is that? Also sold an obscene amount of merch. Okay.
Come to the big screen for the first time ever. That, of course, being Mando and Grogu themselves. So now that the movie is finally out, how exactly do these characters that most people know from a Disney Plus TV series translate to the big screen? In perhaps the most mind-numbingly empty feeling way possible. Unfortunately, perhaps to not that many people's surprise, The Mandalorian and Grogu is not the return to Star Wars on the big screen that most people were hoping for.
I mean, but who actually thought that this was going to be like Jedi, Sith, Skywalker shit? Did anybody think that? I don't know anybody that expected that. Actually, most of the expectations coming into this, from what I remember, were, oh, it's just like an extended episode or a truncated season. Those were the expectations that I saw. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that was the expectations. So I'm not really sure what he's talking about here. Anyway, let's continue. That's not a huge red flag yet. We'll see if he gets there.
What a complete shock. In a lot of ways, I'm honestly surprised this movie even exists, let alone it's being touted as the big return for Star Wars on the big screen to begin with.
Oh God, this existence of a movie argument. Like, did bro really just completely... he got caught false flagging. He got caught plagiarizing. And he just immediately starts saying the dumbest shit. A movie or a TV show doesn't need an excuse to exist. This is a thought-terminating cliche. Once you say that, it means that there's nothing else to discuss. Once you say, I can't believe this movie exists, or it shouldn't exist, or who asked for that, that's not the way you good faith critique media.
Especially since the last thing probably most people remember from theatrical Star Wars is the incredible disaster that's The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars really needed something very different and going in a much different direction if it really wanted to secure itself on the big screen once again. And
so wait. Noah, did you not just say that this movie is not what people expected, but then you're saying that that they should have done something different? Okay.
Suffice to say, this movie really isn't that at all. This legitimately might be one of the most nothing experiences I've ever had watching a movie in theaters.
Did you just copy, Critical Drinker and everybody else's video? Is that what this is? It doesn't need to exist. It's nothing. I mean, this is the same thing that the Chuds are saying. This is just the same thing they're saying. And it doesn't seem like the grift is working for you because this video isn't doing really well. So, okay.
There's a lot to go over for sure, so let's get into this movie, talk about why it doesn't work, and talk about why ultimately it feels like they had 3 scrapped episodes of the TV show that they just smashed together and called that a movie when making.
This is not a real... Everything he's said so far, this is 1 minute and 30 seconds into the video. Everything he said so far is regurgitated outrage comments about this movie. That's all it is. He's just repeating stuff that the outrage people have repeated. Which is lazy. You have nothing new to say about it. You don't have your own personal opinions about it. You're just... Not even is it just repeating. It's using the same words, the same terminology.
The Mandalorian and Grogu is set not long after the events of the end of the 3rd season of the TV show. Mando has a new mission in this movie, that being to find a...
Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Fully grown Rada the Hutt, who supposedly has been kidnapped. As a lot of people might recall, Rada the Hutt was Jabba the Hutt's son from the original Star Wars The Clone Wars movie. Now he's a full-grown adult and has also been taking steroids, probably because now he's a giant buff gladiator who's beating up people. Together with Rada's help, Mando and Grogu must take down a pair of Hutt twins who are Jabba's successors as well, alongside Rada, and stop their evil plot to...
Hold on for a second. Where are all these high-quality shots of the movie coming from? I know where the outrage guys get it from. Are non-outrage guys now ripping movies and using them in their videos?
Kill Rada and take over the Hutt Empire for themselves. On the surface, this is a pretty exceedingly simple premise, and it really is when you watch the film. I think the biggest problem, however, with this movie is that it's way too simple for its own good. I mentioned earlier how this film feels like it's 2 or 3 different episodes of The Mandalorian show that were repurposed into a movie.
But why is that bad? We have movies, like if you look back at, was it Moana? Was Moana 2 the one that like was supposed to be a season of TV or something? And it worked really well at the box office. It made a bunch of money. Kids loved it. 85 with fans, 61 with critics, which is right around, oddly enough, right around where Mandalorian and Grogu is. I'm curious what that criticism is. It feels like a few episodes stitched together into a movie. What is that criticism at its core? I don't see how that's a negative if it's done well. You could say, oh, they didn't do a good job of it and it feels very fragmented, but I don't think that applies to this movie. I don't think the stories feel fragmented. Again, he said it was a simple premise, and it is. But I've heard people apply that like, oh, well, this is why it's not good because it could have just been a season of TV. Which I don't know. I mean, yeah, they could have done that, but I think that the purpose of this movie was to sell a bunch of Grogu shit. Like, I really think that's the purpose of the movie, because the story is pretty simple. It's a simple story to follow.
How events occur in this movie, and also how things are paced in general, you can really see that overall. As a bit of an example, the first hour...
But see, you guys say that he's not saying it as a negative, but I feel like he is. I feel like it is a criticism. I think his comment about it being separate episodes, I think he's going to try and create a criticism around it. Because here he is saying this about like how it feels stitched together. I disagree with it. I think it's just 3 different acts of the movie. You don't have to like it, but let's see. I think he's talking about it being a bad thing. Let's see.
That were repurposed into a movie. And with how events occur in this movie, and also how things are paced in general, you can really see that overall.
Yeah,
as a bit of an example, the first hour of this movie is quite literally just Mando and Grogu going to get Rada the Hutt, freeing him from his gladiator captors, and then taking the person who had imprisoned Rada and turning him into the New Republic. That's obviously not a lot of plot movement, but that's the entire first hour of this movie. That honestly is not enough plot movement just to fill out the first hour of this film, and because of that, things...
By what standard? What's the standard you're holding for that? I don't understand. Like, it wasn't enough plot for you. That doesn't mean it wasn't enough plot for anybody else. I enjoyed the first hour of the movie. Matter of fact, I think a lot of people argued the first hour is the best part of the movie. But again, that's a subjective take. It's not an objective reason that the movie is bad.
Feel super stretched, and scenes feel like they're going on way longer than they really need to. I think if they'd cut a few things and also just put more of this in the first 45 minutes and also cut down the runtime of the film overall, this probably wouldn't feel as stretched. But even though this actually is on the shorter end of Star Wars films being only 2 hours and 12 minutes, it feels so long just because of how poorly paced it is.
Right.
I honestly think I would have preferred if this movie had only been like an hour and 50 minutes, if anything. Interestingly enough, this...
I really, so for me, it's always weird when people cite the runtime as something that makes the movie good or bad. Like, a movie can run long. A good example for me is, I think that the Batman film, the Matt Reeves Batman movie, is a little long in the tooth for me. Like, I think there's like a fourth act to that movie a little bit at the end, in my opinion. But that doesn't make the movie bad, right? I think the movie could have been shorter. But I don't think that the movie's a bad movie. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's fine. I don't think the movie does anything egregious. It's not my favorite Batman movie, you know? But I would never say that that's what makes the movie bad, is that it runs about 15 minutes too long. I'm trying to see how he gets to where he's going in this.
Actually is notable for being the first Star Wars film to feature Ellen Ripley herself, that being Sigourney Weaver, and even Martin Scorsese in this cast.
Okay, so there was no additional context there. He just says the movie is too long. Okay.
Actually was something that really intrigued me about this film, hearing these two were going to be starring in it, since obviously Alien was making a new name for sci-fi right alongside Star Wars in the late 1970s, so it was kind of cool to see an actress from Alien finally appear in a Star Wars project. And Martin Scorsese was part of a group of directors alongside Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, and George Lucas that really paved a new way for Hollywood in the 1970s as well, largely due to the collapse of the studio system. And as
What are we doing? What is this additional history lesson achieving in a review for The Mandalorian and Grogu? Am I the only one that's like wondering why this is in here? Like, what's the point of this?
a result, a lot more filmmakers had more freedom in the 1970s, which is something I've talked about in a previous video if you want to go check that out. So it was...
Oh, he was just promoting another video. Okay. All right.
It's actually pretty cool to finally see two people who popped up around the same time as Star Wars finally featured in a Star Wars project. However, this also brings up another gripe I personally have with this movie, is the fact that I don't think anyone acting in this movie seems all that engaged in it either. I ended up
look, I know you guys are saying that these are just general comments, but his criticism is literally like word for word. If you watch my video from earlier today where I talked about Critical Drinker's take on this, this is just literally the same talking points. It's just the same talking points. She's just doing it for a paycheck, but he's saying it in a different way. She's not as engaged. It's the same criticism. This might be a hot take, maybe not. I don't know. This is why film criticism has died on YouTube. And it's not because of the chuds necessarily. It's because people like Noah and so many other people that do this just repeat stuff that other people have said and upload it like it's their own point of view. I want to know what you really fucking think about the movie. I don't want you repeating stuff that was said by Critical Drinker or Nerdrotic or EFAP. I want you to tell me what you think about the movie. Just your casual viewer, it's not just the same criticisms. He's literally repeating them almost in the same order that these other videos I've watched. This is like the 5th one I've watched about this. And most of the Chud videos have the same criticisms in the same fucking order, presented in a similar way. This is not an organic thing. Besides, we're talking about Noah. He's a plagiarist. The guy's literally lifted scripts off of other content creators. So let's not pretend that all of a sudden he's not doing something similar here. He might not be writing it word for word like them, but he's literally using the same talking points.
Watching this twice in theaters to figure out if I was just losing it or something, but no, it just seems like, at least in my opinion, everyone seems super bored in this movie. Despite the fact Sigourney Weaver is finally in a Star Wars project, she doesn't actually seem to be all that into it at all. Her line deliveries are honestly super flat, and she doesn't seem all that engaged with the film.
What I don't understand about these criticisms is, what if that was the character she was playing? You know what I mean? Like, what if her character was supposed to not give a shit? Maybe that was the direction she was given. Maybe she was told, hey, your character, this is their personality. You know what I mean? And then she does it, and they're like, oh, she seems like she's just there for a paycheck. How do we know that she wasn't told to deliver the lines that way? In like a way that seems like she doesn't give a fuck. Maybe that's the character she's playing. We don't know. But I keep hearing the same criticism. Everybody that was in this movie did it for a paycheck. All of them were there getting paid to be there.
Whatsoever. And even Martin Scorsese, of all people, sounds bored playing this alien monkey thing here. Even he just sounds like he's here to get his check from Disney and then call it a day.
There we go. They're doing it for a paycheck. He got to it. He got there. I haven't watched this video yet. But I knew he was going to get to that because that's what all the Outrage people have been saying. The same fucking thing. They've been using the same terminology. I knew he was going to get there because all of them got there.
I guess he had to go back to work on his Apple TV Plus movie that he's doing with Leonardo DiCaprio. Real talk though, I actually am pretty excited for what happens at night. It looks pretty cool. But it is genuinely wild to me that they could get two legendary figures like this in a Star Wars movie and neither of them seem interested whatsoever. I will say.
Which, by the way, it's really funny to me because both of their characters were very different. Both of their characters had different mannerisms, things like that. They weren't presenting the same, like, monotone, don't give a shit personalities. Like, they were completely different personalities. It's crazy.
Did find it pretty funny seeing Spike Spiegel himself on the opening credits of a AAA Disney blockbuster. It definitely was cool to see Steve Blum getting some well-deserved recognition given how long he's been in the voice acting game for and how many popular characters he's played. But I think one thing that this film really made me realize that probably a lot of people have already realized at this point is just how intent Disney is on milking Grogu as a marketable character. Almost every single frame in this movie is focused on him doing something cute, eating something on screen, or making cute noises. And don't get me wrong, Grogu is cute, and personally, I don't really have a huge problem with cute characters. But once again, with how drawn out this movie is, it becomes all the more apparent just how determined Disney is to drill it into their audience's head how cute Grogu is and how much you want to buy a plush of him after the movie.
I mean, that's essentially all of these movies that come out do have some form of marketing in them. And this is actually not necessarily a criticism of mine, but it's just obvious, right? It's obvious that Disney wants to market Grogu. In the theater I was in, I've already seen it twice. In the theater I was in the first time, there's a lot of families there. Kids loved Grogu. Mission fucking accomplished. Mission accomplished. Because they're going to make way more money selling Grogu merch than they're going to make off of this movie. That's just the reality of it. Star Wars merchandising is a multi-billion-dollar business venture. And yeah, I like Grogu. I know some people don't. That's fine. That's a subjective opinion. I'm not going to knock him for that. If he doesn't like Grogu, he doesn't like Grogu.
At a certain point, it does become rather exhausting. I think for me, though, one of the biggest questions I really have is why exactly Disney thought this would be the way to return Star Wars to the big screen.
I think that people are thinking too hard about that. I think that's a fan thing. I don't think that's a Disney thing or a Lucas thing. I think that's a fan thing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people see this as like, oh, Star Wars is returning for the first time in X amount of years. And even I thought about that a little bit, but I don't think they see it that way. I think for them, Star Wars has been in the culture through Disney Plus since 2019. So even though it is a movie in theaters, in their mind, they've been putting out Star Wars TV shows, Star Wars cartoons, Star Wars merchandise for like 6 years. So I don't think they see it that way. I don't think they see it the same way that fans see it. Which, I mean, that's a fair criticism, but I don't think that Lucasfilm sees it that way necessarily.
You know, there actually was supposed to be a 4th season of The Mandalorian that started production in early 2023, but that ended up being scrapped in favor of this film. But given the fact there's already 3 whole seasons of a TV show where we see Mando and Grogu go on tons of different adventures to begin with, and the fact this movie just feels like another one of those adventures you would have seen in the TV show, and honestly one of the weaker ones too, I just can't exactly wrap my head around why Disney thought they should play up this movie, which again is basically just like 3 episodes of the TV show, as some big movie event for the show.
Okay, I want to pause there. I talked about this on the Nerdcast, but I do want to reiterate this here. This movie was not made for the people who are already watching the show. They didn't make it for that reason. They're trying to expand the audience for these characters, for the Mandalorian and Grogu. They're trying to expand the audience. So yes, they're assuming that a lot of people that watch the TV show will come out and support it, but they really wanted to find a new audience with these characters, right? That's why this happened the way it did. That's why they decided to do this. So I believe that they were trying to do something new and different on purpose. And a casual viewer who says, I mean, was it not an understandable route for Disney to take safe options on something that was selling, aka Mandalorian? Do they not get it? I don't think they do. And this is why Noah's review is so strange to me, because he should understand this. Like, these are things that Noah should get. The only people that speak about things this way are narrative spinners, aka the Outrage channels. Because they pretend to be stupid. They pretend to be ignorant. Because they're trying to build a narrative. Noah technically shouldn't be doing that.